The movie opens at the 2007 High School Nationals Wrestling Tournament in Philadelphia. Anthony Robles prepares for his match in the locker room, listening to a bravado speech from the coach of his dream university, Iowa. As Anthony enters the arena, the charged crowd grows uneasy upon noticing his disability. Some girls quietly mock him, but his mother shuts them down with a sharp retort, inspiring him to stand tall with confidence. Before the match, Anthony's coach Bobby encourages him to execute sharp strategies and stay calm. However, Anthony's focus is fixed on the Iowa coaches, driven by his intense desire to impress them. The match finally begins and Anthony quickly demonstrates his sharp focus and strategic agility, outmaneuvering his opponent at every turn and effortlessly dodging each of his best attempts. Anthony then swiftly secures a 2-point lead with a strategically timed knee drop, further extending his lead with a flawlessly executed roll. After a grueling ball and chain struggle, Anthony pulls off a perfectly executed gut wrench and claims a hard-fought victory, surprising the entire arena with his incredible performance and making his coach and mother beam with pride. After the medal ceremony, Anthony feels a sense of disappointment as the Iowa coaches focus their attention on the second-ranked player, overlooking him despite his outstanding performance and status as a gold medalist. At the tournament celebration, Anthony strikes up a conversation with a waiter. Calling him a champion, the waiter commends his performance and unwavering determination. They are interrupted by Coach Bobby, and he pulls Anthony aside, introducing him to Coach Gary from Drexel University. Recognizing Anthony's exceptional talent, Coach Gary offers him a 4-year scholarship for elite training with full accommodations at Drexel. Bobby and Judy are thrilled upon hearing this, but showing a lack of interest, Anthony tells Gary to think it over, leaving Bobby and Judy visibly upset by his dismissive attitude. Upon reaching home, Anthony is enthusiastically greeted by his 4 step-siblings, their excitement filling the room as they celebrate his success. Soon after, his stepfather returns from his police duty, bringing a special dinner for the family. When Rick learns Anthony is rejecting Drexel's offer, believing he might receive an offer from Iowa or a better university, he argues it won't happen due to his disability and Anthony should accept what's already on the table. He also warns that no other university offers free training or scholarships. Iowa and others will just pile on more expenses for the household. Judy intervenes to back Anthony's decision and ends the argument. However, Rick has always disliked Anthony, seeing him as a burden due to his disability and being a stepson. He has always wanted Anthony to abandon wrestling and get a job to support the family, but his mother has backed Anthony's dream at every turn in his life. To lighten the load on his family, Anthony takes a part-time job as an aircraft cleaner while balancing school and wrestling. The next morning, Coach Bobby pulls every string he can to secure Anthony a spot at a top university, but despite being a gold medalist, each one rejects him because of his disability. Left with no other choice, Coach Bobby pushes Anthony to consider Drexel, assuring him that a true wrestler is defined by his performance. Anthony firmly rejects the idea, pointing out that every national champion has come from Iowa, while none have risen from Drexel. That same day, Anthony explains to Judy why he's hesitant to accept Drexel's offer. He shares that his coach has set up a meeting with a coach from Arizona State University. Though not as prestigious as Iowa, he believes it's a better opportunity than Drexel. Afterward, Anthony meets Arizona's coach Sean, who doesn't sugarcoat the reality and firmly tells Anthony that Arizona's recruitment process is incredibly tough and that with his disability he may struggle to compete against other wrestlers. He advises Anthony not to waste his time in Arizona and instead take Drexel's offer. Like Coach Bobby, Sean emphasizes that a wrestler's true worth is determined by his performance, not the university he's at. He also expresses his belief in Anthony, assuring him that with his unwavering dedication, he has the potential to achieve great things in wrestling. At his job, Anthony receives a letter from Iowa, informing him that his application has been rejected with no reason provided. That night, Rick brings up the same topic once again, pointing out that all the universities have rejected Anthony, and following his meeting with Arizona, he insists Drexel is the best option. However, Anthony sees through Rick's true intentions, that he's only pushing Drexel to avoid increasing his expenses, a responsibility Anthony is willing to shoulder. The tension escalates into a heated argument, with Rick growing frustrated as no one sides with him and Anthony remains unyielding. Enraged, he storms off to his night shift without dinner. Afterward, Anthony's colleague points out that Iowa's rejection was expected, and even if Anthony gets into Arizona, the training expenses could be overwhelming. He strongly suggests Drexel, but Anthony remains determined to join and plans to manage the expenses on his own without burdening his family. When Anthony returns home that night, he finds his mother distressed and the house in disarray. Judy tearfully reveals that she confronted Rick about his suspected affair, which sparked a violent argument between them, and Rick left the house forever. Anthony consoles his mother, reassuring her that things will get better, but deep down he senses the weight of even greater challenges ahead. Driven by determination and self-belief, Anthony pursues Arizona's recruitment the next morning despite Sean's warnings. Coach Sean informs the wrestlers that only 33 out of 55 will make the roster, with the rest either eliminated or leaving due to the grueling nature of the training. He warns that the challenge will be far tougher than anything they've imagined, especially for wrestlers like Anthony, who must prove themselves by outperforming the selected athletes. Afterward, all the athletes face a 10-mile endurance test to measure their stamina. Refusing to let his disability hold him back, Anthony shocks everyone by keeping pace with the others and pushing himself beyond limits. His relentless drive catches Coach Sean's attention, leaving him impressed by Anthony's resilience and determination. Anthony proves his disability is no barrier and that he is just as capable as the others. Afterward, the coach stresses the critical importance of balance in wrestling, but Hall's failure to heed the coach's instructions leaves him facing obvious disappointment. Soon after, a match is set between Hall and Anthony, with one of them to be eliminated based on the outcome. Anthony sticks to the coach's strategy, playing with composure and technique. Determined to win at all costs, Hall exploits Anthony's disability and knocks him down twice. Disappointment by the loss, Anthony is surprised by the coach when he unexpectedly eliminates Hall instead of him. After the training, Coach Bobby warns Anthony to stay vigilant from now on, reminding him that just like Hall, others will also look for ways to exploit his disability. He tells him to stop viewing it as a weakness and instead use it as his greatest strength. The next morning, all the athletes are tasked with climbing the toughest and highest hills in the area. Determined, Anthony arrives early and starts climbing before the others. When Coach Sean and the rest of the athletes arrive, they're surprised to find Anthony already halfway up the hill. As the rest of the athletes pick up speed and begin climbing the hill, Anthony gives it his all and pushes himself forward, but at a rough point his foot slips and he scratches his arm in the process. The rest of the athletes soon catch up to him, offering brief words of encouragement before surpassing him and continuing their climb. Anthony doesn't back down and continues his ascent with relentless perseverance. Seeing his wounds, Coach Sean offers him the option to stop and assures him he won't be eliminated. Still, Anthony refuses to back down and keeps pushing himself forward. Utterly exhausted after hours of grueling effort, all the athletes finally reach the final point. Though no one believes Anthony can make it, his sheer determination and unwavering willpower push him past all expectations, leading him to conquer the summit, proving his unwavering strength and unbreakable will to never give up. When Anthony walks in that night, he finds that Rick has returned, having patched things up with his mother and happily reunited with the family. Despite his lingering anger, Anthony decides against confronting Rick, choosing to let it go for the sake of his mother's happiness. One day, Coach Sean announces a tournament that night to finalize the roster, with only 33 securing a spot on the Arizona team while the rest are eliminated. That evening, as Anthony talks about his tonight match with Dorian, his family showers him with encouragement, assuring him that he'll make the team. To Anthony's surprise, Rick announces plans to attend the match with the whole family to support him. As Anthony prepares for the match, he receives a call from Rick's workplace and learns that Rick has lost his job. Anthony now realizes why Rick has returned and starts pretending to show love to everyone. Anthony chooses not to address the issue at that time and quietly heads to the tournament for his match. The weight of this disturbing news takes a significant toll on his match, causing him to lose focus and allowing his opponent to gain lead after lead. His focus wavers as he keeps glancing at Rick, and the troubling news echoes in his mind. Anthony's performance is far worse than Sean ever imagined. In the end, he suffers a devastating defeat. Back at home, Rick seizes the opportunity to belittle Anthony for his poor performance and calls him a fool for chasing Arizona and letting Drexel slip away. He disrespectfully tells Anthony that wrestling isn't for him and presses him to find a job. Judy strongly disagrees, arguing that one bad match doesn't define Anthony's career. Anthony reluctantly reveals that Rick lost his job, which is why he returned home out of necessity. The revelation shocks Judy, who grows concerned about their finances. Tensions rise as a heated argument breaks with Rick, but it ends without any resolution. The next day, Coach Sean calls Anthony to share the good news that he's reclassified Dorian into a different category and has officially added Anthony to the roster. He clarifies that he's not doing Anthony any favors, but he deserves the roster because Dorian's performance in the match was subpar, and if Anthony performed at his usual level, Dorian would never have beaten him. Upon returning home, Anthony eagerly shares the good news with Judy, which fills her with delight and leaves her over the moon. But the moment is shattered when he notices some wounds on her hand, painful evidence of Rick's abuse, before he walks out on them again. Judy reassures Anthony that she can manage the expenses without Rick and insists he stays focused on his game rather than worrying. After a week, Coach Sean left everyone disheartened with the devastating news that the school had canceled the wrestling season and there wouldn't be any tournaments this year because it's deemed less beneficial than other sports. Despite the setback, he encourages them to stay motivated, keep training with the same drive, and be ready for next year's opportunity. Anthony discusses the matter with his mother, insisting that with the wrestling season canceled, he'll have plenty of time to do his old job and support her financially. Although Judy is hesitant, she eventually gives in to his persistence. As Anthony returns from school, he is met with the sight of his mother locked in a heated argument with a banker. Upon inquiring, they found out that Rick had secretly mortgaged the house to take out a loan and had not paid the EMI for the last 6 months, and the house would be seized next month if she didn't settle all the outstanding accounts. Anthony and Judy become deeply stressed, unable to figure out how Rick had cheated them or how to resolve the situation. Their anxiety intensifies when Judy discovers that Rick has taken all the savings with him before leaving, causing her to lose control and frustration. Anthony calms her down, reassuring her that they will find a way out of this trouble. A few days later, Anthony finds several blood-stained tissues in a dustbin. Concerned, he goes to look for Judy and finds her at a blood donation camp. She reluctantly confesses that she has been donating blood for money over the past several days. Anthony reprimands her harshly over it and takes her back home. Soon after, Coach Sean calls Anthony to meet him and reveals that some alumni have started a new wrestling program by offering sponsorships. However, their condition is clear that due to limited funding, the team must reduce the number of wrestlers, as the athletes rely on sponsorships to cover their expenses. Anthony expects to be dropped, but Sean surprises him by revealing that his team has taken it upon themselves to cover his expenses and save him, as they all want Anthony as a gold medalist this year. Overwhelmed with emotion, he thanks each of them. The support and encouragement from his fellow wrestlers inspire him to give his best. Meanwhile, after consulting with her lawyer friends and conducting thorough research, Judy heads to the bank to confront the banker. She accuses him of fraudulently issuing the loan without her signature and presents him with two options. Either the debt is removed from her house, or she will take legal action against the bank. Faced with the threat of a lawsuit, the banker reluctantly chooses the first option and releases her from the debt. Through relentless hard work and dedication, Anthony quickly becomes the top wrestler in his school, winning match after match and dominating tournaments. His exceptional performance not only earns him the opportunity to represent Arizona in the 125-pound weight class at the 2010 NCAA championships, but also makes him widely popular throughout the university. One day, Anthony's friends show him matches of undefeated wrestler McDonough from Iowa. As they watch some clips, it becomes clear that this isn't just another opponent unlike the ones Anthony easily dominated so far. A week later, the 2010 NCAA championship kicks off, and the entire nation is buzzing with excitement for one epic showdown between Anthony and McDonough in the final match. Both wrestlers live up to the hype, dominating one match after another, each victory bringing them closer to the highly anticipated showdown. Despite giving his all and being the crowd favorite, Anthony feels incredibly nervous due to McDonough's dangerous ability. The moment everyone has been waiting for finally arrives, the showdown between Anthony and McDonough, with both coaches giving last-minute advice. The match begins and Anthony starts nervously, launching a series of aggressive attacks, but McDonough remains calm, expertly countering each of Anthony's moves with precision. Anthony takes a deep breath and pulls ahead by 2 points with a solid counterattack. McDonough breaks free from Anthony's hold and counters with a brilliant move to score the lead. He then swiftly finishes the match by delivering a flawless headlock takedown and secures his hard-fought victory. This was the most important match of Anthony's life, and despite giving it his all, he was defeated. His loss deeply saddened both him and his fans in the arena. The next day, Coach Bobby meets with a downcast Anthony, reminding him that success comes with failure. He motivates him to work even harder for the next year. Coach Bobby adds that when people see Anthony, they shouldn't feel pity but instead be inspired by his disability. The coach's words spark a renewed hunger in Anthony to chase success once more, pushing him to ramp up his training and get one step closer to becoming a beast. When Anthony arrives at his home that night, he notices all his siblings gathered outside. He soon discovers that Rick has returned and is violently assaulting Judy. When Anthony aggressively confronts Rick, he taunts him about his disability and tries to show off his strength. Fueled by anger, Anthony throws Rick down and locks him in a brutal chokehold. To resolve the situation, Judy calls the police and has Rick arrested. With Rick's arrest, there is finally hope for peace in their lives, allowing Anthony to focus on his training without the added stress. The next morning, Coach Bobby arrives at Anthony's house and hands Judy a box containing letters from many of the school students. He praises Judy as a warrior mother, acknowledging how she shaped Anthony into a resilient fighter and ready to conquer life's challenges. When Anthony returns home, Judy shows him letters from many disabled children from his high school. They passionately express how inspired they are by Anthony, seeing their disabilities as a source of strength just like him, and they consider him their idol and a true hero. The scene becomes deeply emotional as Anthony realizes that he is a source of strength for others, making his mother beam with pride. As the 2011 NCAA championship nears, Coach Sean delivers an inspiring speech that honors the athlete's relentless dedication and the privilege of representing Arizona at the state level. When it's Anthony's turn, the coach calls him a legend, an athlete who pushed through every obstacle, balancing grueling training with his job and family responsibilities. He highlights Anthony's undefeated record and proclaims him an inspiration to all of Arizona, a true source of pride for his family and the coaching staff. After a month, the 2011 NCAA championship kicks off in Philadelphia, charged with great enthusiasm and excitement as every year. Top wrestlers from elite universities across the nation step onto the mat, but the spotlight is on Anthony and McDonough, with fans eagerly awaiting their showdown in the final. Everyone is anxious to see if Anthony finally clinched the gold this year, or if will he fall short again just like last year. Though Anthony's performance has vastly improved and McDonough is also in peak form. Both athletes dominate their every match with ease, setting the stage for their epic clash in the final. Afterward, Anthony locks eyes with McDonough and his coach, who arrogantly scoff at his achievements. They acknowledge his talent but insist he's no match for McDonough, stating that in Iowa, second place is as good as failure. Sean advises Anthony to ignore the Iowa coach's remarks and stay focused on the game, assuring him that regardless of whether he wins the gold, he's already a champion for him and everyone. Finally, the long-awaited day has arrived and the match is about to begin. The stadium erupts in cheers for Anthony as the crowd anxiously hopes for him to claim the gold this time. Meanwhile, a wave of nervousness rises within Anthony and all his supporters. Sean urges Anthony not to repeat his past mistakes, advising him to stay patient and wait for McDonough to slip up. Sean instills in him the confidence to defeat McDonough and put his arrogance in check. With his mother's blessings and his coach's belief in him, Anthony steps into the ring. The match begins with both wrestlers sizing each other up, cautiously counters each other's attack while battling for control. The bout spans 3 periods, a 3-minute first round, followed by 2 2-minute rounds. After a few moments of intense back and forth, Anthony strikes first with a takedown and earns 2 points. He swiftly transitions into a pin attempt, locking it in and adding another 3 points. After a fierce struggle, McDonough responds with a takedown to gain 2 points. Just before the period ends, he manages to control Anthony and earn 3 more points to tie up the period. The referee flips the coin, and it comes up to McDonough. He chooses to defer, allowing Robles to start in the neutral position for the second period. The second period begins with both wrestlers locking up and battling for control. Each athlete executes multiple attacks, but neither can secure a takedown or a point. The period ends scoreless with both still tied again. McDonough wins the disc again and Anthony finds himself in a tough spot as McDonough opts to start in the top position for the third period. McDonough attempts to break Anthony down with all his power and intensity from the top. He effortlessly takes several points lead in the start. Anthony soon uses his defensive skills to escape the hold and earns a crucial 1-point reversal. As the entire arena erupts in cheers for Anthony, he executes a flawless hit roll and adds 2 more points to his lead. Using every ounce of his strength, Anthony then flips McDonough. With impeccable control, Anthony denies McDonough any opportunity to escape. The struggle intensifies as Anthony flips McDonough onto his back, expertly locking him in position and sealing the match with a decisive pin. Living up to everyone's expectations, Anthony secures a historic victory, winning the match by a commanding 8 to 5 point difference. The sheer joy of victory and the reward of endless hard work and dedication shines brightly on Anthony's face. The whole country is applauding him for setting an example of passion and determination. His mother and coaches stand with immense pride, their eyes brimming with emotion. The film then shows Anthony Robles' real-life achievements through a montage of authentic photographs. His high school now proudly displays his posters, inspiring future generations of wrestlers. Anthony became the first wrestler signed by Nike and received numerous prestigious awards. Barack Obama appointed him to the President's Council on Fitness and Nutrition in 2013, and he returned to his roots as the wrestling coach of his former high school by 2022. The movie-filled journey of a mother's sacrifice and Anthony's relentless hard work concludes with a remarkable success.
If you enjoy the video, please subscribe and turn on all notifications to stay updated with our latest content. Additionally, if you would like to see amazing Indian movie explanations, give this video a thumbs up and type yes in the comment with your favorite Bollywood movie.